everybody come in.
Ready? All right, ladies and gentlemen, now, once again, you know, I definitely appreciate everybody coming out and you know, sharing this, what is, to my opinion, is a truly a special moment. The young lady here is doing some really big things, and I really thought we as a nation need something to be happy about, enjoys and stuff. So this is our possibly first black female president. So we're gonna keep pushing it. But if somebody you want to introduce your daughter Shirley, or you want
no, that is Larry. What Larry?
Larry, come here.
That's Larry John.
Is that Larry John?
That's Larry John.
But definitely thank you, everybody. If you see what we're trying to do at the center, right? See, they're trying to tell us that they don't want to hear our story because they're outlawing what is called critical race theory. But see, I'm committed to telling our story, right? From slave ship to spaceship. See, that's my journey, right? And stuff. So,
to the White House. Say it, get her.
And that's where we're heading, stuff. So I'm determined to tell our story, so that we get to pass on the truth. So Larry, it's up. You get to introduce your niece.
Okay, look, y'all. This is my oldest niece. I ain't gonna make nobody jealous of me. She's my hero. She's my hero. Let's hear it. This young lady right here. This young lady, man.
Come on in. There's a front row seat for you.
She's a genius, if you ask me. You know, that's my thing. You can't take the credit for that. I hear you. I just say you made it. I put you in there, but you was a big part of all of this. But honestly, yes, I'm gonna just let her tell the story because she's an awesome young lady, y'all. Just listen to what she got to say. Rhonda. Now, that's Rhonda Crawford, retired Lieutenant Colonel from the United States Air Force. So proud of you, man.
All right, like Larry said, I'm Rhonda Crawford, retired Lieutenant Colonel from the United States Air Force. I spent 26 years in the Air Force before I retired. Oh, you guys coming in? I'm okay.
We got one.
There's a seat right here.
We got one.
You gotta walk. Larry, Daddy, pull up. Daddy, slide on up.
Hey, come on, go ahead. You want to go in there?
There you go.
You can put it right over.
All right. So Rhonda Crawford, retired Lieutenant Colonel, United States Air Force. Spent 26 years in the Air Force doing various jobs. I started off in the Air Force in 1988. Went in and thought I had something to prove, so I decided to be a cop right off the bat. And in 1988 in the Air Force, they didn't have women in security police. They let 100 of us in as an experiment to see if we could do it. Years later, I decided that they could keep that job and I could do something else. But we were there to prove that women could do it and pave the way for that. So I was started off security police stationed in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Left Albuquerque, New Mexico and went to Wuhan, Germany. Left Wuhan, Germany, went to Hahn, Germany. Left Hahn, Germany and went to Greece. So this is my enlisted career. By the time I left overseas, I was coming back as a staff sergeant in the United States Air Force. So I started out enlisted. Left Greece and went to Cheyenne, Wyoming. And decided I was on a post one day out in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And I had a lieutenant colonel come up to me when I was guarding a structure. And he comes up to me and he says, Rhonda, you guys need anything? How's everything going out here on this post? And I said, you want the Rhonda Richardson answer? or the Sergeant Richardson answer? And think carefully, sir, because I will tell you the truth. And he told me, no, why don't you give me the Rhonda Richardson answer? And I said, sir, I am smarter than this. I don't need to be out here proving that we can do this, because it can be done. We all know it can be done. We shouldn't have to prove that it can be done. We know what we can do. That's number one. Number two, I've been out here all darn day on a post, out here in the snow, guarding a structure that I know darn well is empty for a test. So how about y'all think of a better way to use people, use your resources, so you don't have to waste the resources just because you want to prove that we can't do it. And he says, you know what? I'll see you next week. So that very next week, I got a phone call, said, Colonel so-and-so wants to see you in his office. So everybody, when a cop gets called and things are,
There's something wrong.
it's something wrong, you know. So in the Air Force and military, it used to be all male. So when a cop gets called, they're always saying, if you have to show up in blues, you're probably in trouble. So I put my blues on, go in there, and this man, another African American, sat me down at the table. His wife was there, and she was a major, she was a nurse. And they put a book in front of me and said, let's do this. We're gonna find you a school, and we're gonna find you a scholarship, and we're gonna get you out of here. And that's how things changed for me. So one of the things I wanted to start with is bloom where you're planted, and how you end is not necessarily indicative of how you started, but your attitude along the way. And as long as you're honest with yourself and with others, you can keep moving. You'll just keep moving forward. So as we get started here, one of the things I want to ask you guys, and I'll get back into my journey later, is what's the difference? And this is going to be interactive. What is the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day?
Memorial Day is the lost ones, and Veteran Day is the ones that's living.
Exactly. Memorial Day is where we honor the lives that are lost in wars around the globe. We honor what they've done, and we honor fallen soldiers. It's a somber moment. It's memorial. It is where we give them their due. But for Veterans Day, we want to honor not only the sacrifices, but the achievements. And one of the things that's heartbreaking for those of us that live a life of service is for people to take for granted what that service provides. So while we're out there doing the job that you guys have asked us to do, we want you to live a life that's honest and in keeping with the sacrifices you're asking of us. And if you're throwing your life away, it's making our sacrifice for nothing. So just like those that came before us, this uncle that told me if I went in the Marines, he was going to kick my butt. And he was absolutely right. We need to honor what they've done before us and what they're trying to do. And how we honor that is through sincerity. So, you know, how do you honor a vet? Right now, if you see somebody on the street, you see somebody in the mall, you know a vet, you go to the airport, you see him in uniform, what do you say?
Thank you for your service.
So a lot of people say that.
But what did you say?
I will say it, but to me, if you don't say it with sincerity,
Yes.
it doesn't mean nothing.
Right.
You might as well not say it.
You gotta believe.
So here's my question to you. When you go and you say thank you for your service to somebody, you have to think about what their service was,
Protecting my livelihood.
what they sacrificed, what their experiences are. Because if you don't understand that, you can't understand why they're doing it, and you can't understand what that means for you. So if you can't look at it with sincerity, even if you don't tell them, or even if you don't ask them, you need to think that and internalize that, because if you're not internalizing that, it's not meaning anything. It's just like the guys that put a flag on their car and never served a day in the military. It's literally the least you can do. So honor their sacrifices and their achievements by being sincere in your thoughts and actions. So, how do you be sincere in your thoughts and actions?
Somebody, anybody?
Somebody? How can you be sincere in your thoughts or actions? It's doing about meaning. Yeah,
Mean what you're saying, what you're
being
saying.
exactly
Being
true.
honest to you.
Be honest with yourself. Mean what you say. Say what you mean. Live with intention.
Can I say something?
Yes,
On the
ma'am.
military base, it was 2 soldiers that was in front of me, and I paid for their groceries. And one of the ladies that know me, and then she said, "You sure you got it?" I said, "I'm sure." I was like, "How much is it?" But anyway, I paid for it, and I told both of them, "Thank you for your service." And use that money, you know, they was
That's
kind of
sincerity.
young.
That's
Yeah,
sincerity.
so I
Yes.
do that sometimes.
You know, I went to McDonald's the other day and, you know, just walked in and somebody was a little bit rude. And my son was with me and I don't think he meant to be rude and he noticed that. So by the time my son and I got up to the counter, our food was paid for. Because he thought about it, he reflected on himself, and he did what he thought he had to do. So when we live with intention, we live within a way that, you know, we know and we understand the service of everybody else. We respect one another and we respect ourselves. So, people that dishonor themselves are dishonoring the sacrifices of not just the veterans, but of our forefathers, our ancestors, the people that came before us, the people that fought for things for us, the right to vote, you know, the civil rights movement. By dishonoring yourself, you are dishonoring them. The best way to honor them is to live a life with intention.
Amen.
I'll get back to my journey in just a second. Because I believe that life is a summary of the small things you do every day. And when I started out on this journey, before I even got into the military, when I was in high school, I was in ROTC. And I remember a time when I was looking to get an Air Force scholarship, a scholarship to the Air Force Academy. And I did not get that scholarship. And no matter what the reason is, because somebody maybe scored a little bit higher, somebody was a little bit more favored, whatever the case may be, doesn't really matter, because when I look back on myself and I look back on what I did, I have to ask myself, what else could I have done? What else did I not do? Or what could I have done to prepare myself to be ready for that opportunity that came along? So by living with intention, you look at the things you do every day. The daily you wake up with gratitude. Daily you wake up with respect. Daily you wake up with the mindset that you know you're going to practice something, you're going to improve yourself. Daily, these are the little habits that we have to do, because who we are is just the sum of what we do every day. That is it. That is one of the most basic things there. So if you don't decide to live with that intention, then you're letting your time waste. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, because sometimes we all get there. You know, you spend some time saying, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. Or you get into a position or a situation when in your mindset where it gets a little bit out of control. But that's okay. Find your way back. Find the people in your circle, find the people you believe in, and let them help you get back on track. So one of the things I always told people when I first got in the military is there are things that are on my stop doing list. It's not, I've got a to-do list, but some people you've ingrained some bad habits. We all have. Identify those bad habits when you live with intention and put those bad habits on your stop doing list. And you're not accountable to anybody else except you. You know, living with intention, you're accountable to yourself. You're accountable for what you see yourself 5 years from now, 10 years from now, how you're living your life 20, 30, 50 years from now. How is your health 50 years from now? By living with intention, you start to work on those things. And you can start anytime. When I started with this living with intention thing, people always talk about your goals. And having the goals is one thing, and I do believe when they teach you to chase your dreams, to me that's nonsense. And I'll tell you why. Because people dream, and they dream without information. And growing up, one of the things would be, even before I went in the military, one of the reasons I chose to be a cop, I didn't know what else was out there. So when you dream, when you live with intention, and then you build your dream and you build your goals, you are doing that with information. You're not just waking up one day like I did and say, I want to be a ballerina, because you know that's out there. Or I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a nurse because I'm too scared to be a doctor. So when you live with intention, you build a plan along those dreams, and you put yourself in a position where you can take advantage of every opportunity that comes your way. You got to be ready to walk in that door when that door opens. So one of the things that that incident with the Air Force Academy is, if you focus on yourself, you resist that temptation of falling into the trap of making other people responsible for the things that you did, or the things that happened to you, your successes and your failures. By focusing on yourself, it doesn't matter what they all do. It just matters what you do. It matters how you handle it, how you look at it, what you learn from it, what you get from it, and what's next. So focus. We all get into that trap. So so-and-so did this, and so-and-so took that away from me. Yeah, they did. They could have. It happens. Life isn't fair. It just is. My mama told me that all the time. However, because it's that way, all you can do is focus on yourself, living with intention, and figure out those things, those little things you need to do every day to move somewhere else. Once I spent my 8 years as an enlisted soldier, I was a staff sergeant when I got into the Air Force with that scholarship. So that team there, Lieutenant Colonel Johnson and his wife, they helped me, and they started calling schools. They were calling in favors so I could get accepted to school. And I ended up going to University of South Florida, to the ROTC program there, with a Florida scholarship. Before I got there, I had to get my grades right, just pull them back up. So I went to Daytona Beach Community College. I told everybody that semester I was in class by 8, on the beach by 1. But I got straight A's. And then on the beach by 1, my karate class was on the beach at 1. We did karate and Tai Chi on the beach. Then I moved to University of South Florida, and I got to University of South Florida. So my scholarship was $9,000 a year as a minority scholarship. And when I got there, the professor of aerospace studies said, well, we got another scholarship, but we don't have anybody to give it to you. Actually, I'm sorry, I misspoke. I was the other way around. I had an Air Force scholarship, and the Air Force scholarship was $21,000. But I had that scholarship, and I'm a minority. So when I got to the school, they had a minority scholarship, but they didn't have anybody to give it to. So they asked me if I would take the $9,000 scholarship instead of the $21,000 scholarship, so they could give 2 people scholarships. But the trade-off, because you gotta ask for the trade-offs. They moved me from University of South Florida to University of Tampa, a better rated school at the time. Smaller classes, better teachers, free room and board, and a stipend. So they made so they made up for it. So the Air Force didn't give me all that, but my professors went and negotiated with University of Tampa across town and got me more. And it was an amazing experience. And that's one of those things where you stop thinking about things that might be negative and look for opportunities to turn it into something else. And that was a common theme throughout my career. Take things that appear to be negative and take it and turn it into opportunities. And I've been in many a job that most people wouldn't want. In many a place where people don't want to be there. But you take that job, you take that situation, and you turn it into an opportunity for something else. Somebody told me a long time ago, it's called bloom where you're planted. And if you do that, when you bloom where you're planted, people will notice. The flowers grow. And you get rid of that negativity. A lot of people always talk about how it's so hard to shake me. It's not that it's hard to shake me. I don't care about nonsense.
All right, all right, girl.
It's noise to me. Because in the grand scheme of things, I still have to focus on those little things I do daily to get me to where I need to be.
Amen.
And when I fall, I kick myself. Or when I fall and, roll around a little bit, my mom and my sisters kick me, especially Shari. But by having that support,
She kicks me too.
but by doing that, you've got that support system.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yep. So, after I finished college, went back into the Air Force as a lieutenant, ended up going to the base that I left where those guys treated me like dirt before I left.
All right.
I outranked them when I went back. But that's because I didn't take that time to dwell in that negativity about what somebody else is doing.
That's right.
And I did those daily things that I need to do every day to get myself to where I want to be. And to be quite honest, it was crazy. People thought I was silly because I was a cop sitting in a squad car reading the dictionary.
Who does that?
But I wanted to take the officer qualification test and I wanted to score high. So that's what I did. All the other cops sitting around talking junk, gossiping, I listened to some of it. Because when there's only a few women out there, they tell you everything. Oh my God, they tell you everything. And they, yes. I'm the Girl Scout mom therapist too. But they tell you everything. So in order to ignore them, I read my dictionary. I go grab a grade school math book and start over from scratch. Reteaching myself the foundation. Sitting there in the squad car on a mid shift. Because that's what I had to do. Even when I first started college, when I was stationed in Germany, I was on mid shifts. And back then, you didn't have this whole online school. I wanted to go to City Colleges of Chicago and University of Maryland, who had campuses all over Germany. But it was night school. So if I was on mid shift, or swing shifts, I couldn't go to night school. So how do I get, y'all probably saw a picture that was up there. With me in a cheerleading uniform. That was Hahn Air Force Base football team. The bases overseas had semi-pro football teams at the time. And in order to be on day shift as a cop, I had to be affiliated with the football team. Wow. So they were like, you really gonna be a cheerleader? I'm like, yeah, if you get me where I need to be. I want to go to night shift. So I went out there, put my sweatpants on, put the skirt over top of it, went on about my business, did what I had to do. And that's what I did. But it's again, those small things you do daily to get you to where you need to be. I was a driver for a general. He get drunk. I take him to a place, he get drunk, I take him home. But by doing that job that nobody else wanted to do, I was right next to the general as an airman. So when it was time for me to get my next job, I went to Greece and got promoted. Because my resume said the things that it needed to say. So again, small things you do every day and you get rid of that negativity, you get rid of the toxicity, and you put certain things on your stop doing list. And to be quite honest, there are times when you gotta distance yourself from the wrong people. There are times when you gotta say, I love you, or you're my friend, or you're my coworker, but in your mind you're saying, I only need to spend a limited amount of time with this person. Because if I hang around that person, I'm gonna keep listening to these things and listening to these thoughts, and they're gonna pull me there with them. I'll tell you, when I was a lieutenant and I got my job at Valdosta, I went into the contracting squadron in Valdosta. And there was a person there who would always talk about, well, the man this and man that, and this man, our commander's so racist, he did this, this, and that. And it was just this self-fulfilling prophecy. When you live in negativity, you don't want to do anything. And when you do something, you don't do it well.
That's right. That's right.
And if you're not doing well, guess what? They're not going to recognize you. They're going to target you. All these things are going to happen because you put yourself in that cycle. So when I got there, I walked in and I said, oh, this ain't the good old boy system, because it was Valdosta, Georgia. We all know what Valdosta, Georgia is. And I said, this ain't the good old boy system. This is good old Ronda's. And I would walk into a room like I own it.
Oh, you.
And I was in construction contracting at the time, and I would tell those good old boys, you can say what you want. You can call me honey, little lady, don't use the N-word, don't care, but you still better get my project done on time. Because that's what I'm here to do. I'm not here for all that other nonsense. You can be racist all day long, but be racist somewhere else, because I need you to get my project done. And that's how I treated it. And those same guys that everybody was saying ran the system, I played poker with them. And their wives cooked me food all the time. It's because I did not put myself in that situation where I had to be at odds thinking that everybody is my enemy. Everybody that doesn't think like me, doesn't act like me, doesn't talk like me, even though I see that they got some little issues, but they're not my enemy.
Right.
I don't have an enemy.
Thank you.
I live with intention. I'm about getting me where I need to be so I can live the life that I want to live. That's it.
Amen. Amen.
So all that other nonsense,
That was
nonsense. So they started calling me good old Rhonda, or I would go and stuff, where's my girl? Where's my girl? Where's my project? I even had contracting CEOs and presidents of companies call me up. I'll say, this something happened. Your boys out here doing this, and if they keep doing this, you know what I'm gonna do. They come out here, nah, we'll clean house because we work too hard for our companies to have somebody a little bit racist, talk a little bit too much to ruin my company. So when you got a woman boss out there, that's exactly what she says. She's like, this is my company, and I'm not letting these good old boys take away from what I spend my time and my effort building because they don't know how to act. So, and all it was, approaching things with intention and without the negativity. That particular commander that girl said was racist, he might have had some quirks, but that is the person that stood up for me. When I was a lieutenant working in missiles, I was a missile launch officer, and my husband was a pilot. We couldn't be stationed together. And all I had to do, I was trying to find a way to get out of that career field. I was either stay in missiles, I had an assignment plan to go to Cape Canaveral so I could do space launch, but there were still no C-130s on that base, and my husband's a C-130 pilot, rescue pilot. And so one of the things, I went out to that base because my husband was stationed there, and I said, let me go talk to a squadron commander. Because one of the other generals that I had talked to before, another African American, he said, Rhonda, if you're going to change careers, find a career that knows everything behind the scenes. Pilots are flashy. But the people that run the Air Force are your HR people. Pilots are flashy, but the people that spend the money are contracting and finance people. So when you get out, when you decide to leave this job, what are your other opportunities? So again, here you go, approaching something, preparing yourself with that knowledge instead of just chasing a dream. Chase it with intention. Chase it with intention. So, thank you. So, missiles is one of those career fields that nobody wants. You're a missile launch officer, you live in a silo, you know, all these feet underground. You stay out there for at least 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, watching your little missiles out there on the site. I wanted to get out of that job and couldn't figure out a way. I went to that base with my husband, and his office was near the contracting office. So I said, why don't you just go drop by and meet this guy? And it's in Valdosta, Georgia. Guy from South Carolina, talk funny, a little crazy. But he was like, oh, I'm an ex-missileer too. Let me get you out of there. So he calls up somebody in assignments and says, I got a lieutenant here that needs a new job. How about you hook her up? And the assignments person said, I can't just take somebody from another career field and give them another job. They gotta release her. And we came to the conclusion that all you can do is try. So she wrote me an assignment as if I belonged to them. And when I got back, my boss said, you got an assignment. And it just so happened that my boss, the lieutenant colonel that I'd helped out on something else before, he was now at headquarters watching over our career field. He could have stopped it. He just called me up. He's like, Rhonda, I ain't see it. You good. So next thing you know, I got out of a career field that nobody else can get out of because somebody took a chance on me. And I'll tell you why she took a chance. Because I didn't have all the math credits, business credits that I needed to go into contracting. She said, if you can come back in within 3 months and you have all these credits, I'll see what I can do for you. I said, I know, oh no, I'll have them to you by the end of the week. And I went to the library, got me some books, went to the education office and tested out all those classes. So I called her at the end of the week and I was like, I clocked 24 credit hours, math and business. Can you take me now? And she wrote my assignment.
See, you determined.
Yes. Didn't wait 3 months. She'd have forgot who I was.
Hey.
So all I could do was put myself in a position to take advantage of that opportunity, and just got so blessed that my old boss was looking over the other assignments, and all he had to do was turn his head. Next thing you know, I was stationed with my husband.
All right.
You know, so preparing yourself, putting yourself in those opportunities, and living with intention. After doing missiles and after getting into contracts, moving from Valdosta, I went to special operations, which is where the craziness in my career started. There was a little bit of crazy when I was a cop, but the craziness is special operations. My uncle knows this. I ended up getting a job at Air Force Special Operations Command in the contracting squadron. People always, you never think that contracting people, especially women, deploy in combat. Well, there was an assignment that came down where they asked for an Army person, number one, and they asked for a male, and they got me, an Air Force female. But when I showed up with a couple $100,000 in a tough box and an attitude. Because the other part of living with intention is being your authentic self. And when I went into an area where there were no other women, no other American women, when I walk into a room and I see the guys turning off their monitors, I know what they're watching. I know what's going on. You know, you know all these things. I just look at them, I'm like, let me see how this goes. And let's see what they're gonna do. So I got there, and they were a little bit standoffish at first. I put up first I lived in a closet. We were in Saddam Hussein's palace, one of the first groups that went into Iraq. And they put me in a closet. That was my room. I put a cot in here. Eventually I'm like, I do not want to live with all these guys. I don't care if it's palace. Because Saddam Hussein's palaces, believe it or not, they look good, but they were trash. The windows were plastic. The armoire, you go in there, there's a plastic armoire with a nice mirror. On a TV or on a picture, it looks opulent. But it was